Hello and welcome to FOL. On FOL on Sundays around this time, we bring you on point. But today, we're changing it up, seeing as this is our Independence Week. We are observing Liberia's 177th year of existence. And so a few days ago, we had a major program in Monrovia, which is still being talked about. Today, we here at FOL are going to chime in and bring you our version of an Independence Day oration. And so today, we're marking this day as a virtual Independence Day celebration. We're glad you could join us, and we encourage you to sit back and relax and enjoy the show. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nangbe. I'm Call Fambula. I will be the MC today. I'm so excited to hear our orator. I have a lot of respect for him, though I have not met him in person. His work speaks for itself. And today, I'm also excited that the person who is introducing our orator is one of my mentees, a very bright and promising young man who is a youth facilitator for the Liberia Leadership Academy, the Liberia Legacy Foundation's Leadership Academy, and he is a STAR student and now a STAR youth leader as well. I would like to introduce to everyone the introducer of our orator, Mr. Trust Sizi from Monrovia. Go ahead, Trust.
Thank you once again, Ms. Cole. Thank you. I'm honored. Greetings. I am Sizi Goyah. My story begins in the heart of Lofa County, Liberia, where I entered the world to young parents full of dreams. My mother, a woman of great sacrifice, left her own education behind to nurture my potential, while my father set out for Monrovia with nothing but hope, seeking a life beyond the confines of our village. High school graduation marked a turning point, and my journey into education took its first steps. I found myself at the forefront of a classroom teaching elementary science and later delving into the complexities of junior high school mathematics. It was here that my true passion ignited, igniting young minds with a love for mathematics. The pursuit of knowledge led me across the oceans to the United States, where I embraced the challenge of obtaining degrees in mathematics, engineering, and education. Armed with this arsenal of knowledge, I returned to the realm of education, dedicating the past decade to shaping the minds of secondary math students. Stepping into the role of math department chair at Brooklyn Center High School was a defining moment, a position I held for over 5 years. Within those walls, I sought to create an environment where students thrived and educators were inspired. Recognized for my dedication and expertise, I took on the mantle of co chair of the Minnesota Math Standards Committee, a role that allowed me to shape the educational landscape of the state. The privilege of being a keynote speaker at the spring conference of the Minnesota Council of Theaters of Mathematics remains a highlight, where I had the opportunity to share my journey, inspiring educators and learners alike. Today, I stand as the Director of Mathematics for Minneapolis Public Schools, overseeing the mathematical education of thousands of students in the third largest school district in Minnesota. It is a role that carries great responsibility and even greater reward as I witness the growth and development of the next generation of thinkers, problem solvers, and leaders. Beside me in this journey is my loving wife, Teresa Goyah, and our children, who are a constant source of support and inspiration. Together, we navigate the challenges and celebrate the triumphs that come with a life dedicated to education. My story is a testament to the power of education, demonstrating that with determination and a steadfast belief in one's potential, any obstacle can be overcome. I am humbled by the opportunity to be a part of shaping minds and changing lives, and I look forward to the chapters yet to unfold in this incredible journey.
Excellent.
Mr.
So,
Sizi
Paul,
Goya.
before I love how you read his biography in his words. before we bring Mr. Goyah on, how does that inspire you as a young man? I want to hear a little bit about what your thoughts are of him before we bring him on.
It inspires me as a young man to keep on being able to just leap over any obstacles that may come my way, because in this world today, especially me being a man, not just any man, but an African man, and being faced with the kinds of struggles, that I always see, mostly pertaining to not only the obstacles that see in life, but also with me being a Black person. It inspires me to just overcome the odds, because though I may have not been there, or I may have not seen what Mr. Goyah might have encountered, but despite the difficulties that he encountered, nonetheless, it inspires me to keep pushing, because although there might be problems that we see every day, but I don't think it would be very healthy to keep on focusing on those problems. The best thing to do is to focus on how we can overcome those problems, find alternative to solving problems that we face, despite the ridicule that we get from people outside. So,
Excellent.
yeah.
Thank you, Paul. And, without
Yeah.
further ado, Mr. Orator, you have the floor. Thank you so much.
Thank
Welcome.
you,
It's my pleasure.
Paul. I am excited. I am honored that a young man will introduce me. It means a lot to me as an educator. Esteemed guests, fellow Liberians, friends of Liberia, and my honor platform participants. Greetings to you all. My name is Sizi Goyah, and I hail from Zolowo, Lofa County. Today, as we virtually gather to celebrate the 177th Independence Day of our cherished nation, Liberia, I am filled with immense pride and honor. I bring warm greetings to you from my wife, Teresa Goyah, and our children. I also stand here today to pay homage to my ancestors, particularly the late retired Sergeant Flomo Goyah of the Liberian Frontier Force, on whose shoulders I stand. Today marks a significant moment for reflection and celebration as we honor the pride, resilience, and freedom that our independence represents. Our theme for today's reflection is pivotal to the progress and prosperity of our nation. And the theme is the role of education in nation building. I'll repeat that. The role of education in nation building. So let me talk to you about education as a foundation for liberation and growth. Education has been the bedrock of our nation's development since our inception. From the establishment of Liberia College, now known as the University of Liberia, to the creation of traditional Poro and Sunday schools, our ancestors understood that education is the key to liberation, empowerment, and national growth. It equips us with the knowledge and skills to comprehend our past, engage our present, and shape our future. However, an important question looms over us today. And that question is, are we physically independent but morally colonized? How independent are we if our Eurocentric curriculums and pedagogies largely ignore and to some extent demonize our ancestors and their contributions? This question challenges us to examine the educational system in Liberia and its alignment with our true national identity. Why do we learn about the Great War of China but overlook the Great Yeyia War in Lofa County? Why do we study the French and American revolutions and George Washington and Napoleon Bonaparte in great detail, but neglect the story of Chief Warrior Swakoko. Our present challenges and opportunities. Currently, our educational sector faces substantial challenges. The aftermath of our civil unrest, economic instability, the Ebola outbreak, and the COVID-19 pandemic have left our education system in a state of struggle. Many schools are devoid of basic resources, and our devoted teachers often work under incredibly challenging conditions. However, within these challenges lie opportunities for transformation and growth. The resilience and determination of the Liberian people provide us with the strength to surmount these obstacles. Now, I have a call for a nationalized curriculum. To truly become a liberated and unified nation, we must adopt and implement a nationalized curriculum and assessment that leverage our rich Liberian cultures and traditions. This curriculum should celebrate our unique heritage and integrate subjects that reflect our national identity. A national curriculum should encompass comprehensive studies of Liberian history, culture, and traditions. Our children must understand the contributions of our ancestors and the rich tapestry of our national heritage. This knowledge will instill a sense of pride and belonging, fostering national unity and national identity. Civics education is crucial for nurturing an informed citizenry and electorate. By understanding their rights, responsibilities, and workings of the government, students can become active participants in our democracy. Civics should be a mandatory subject. I repeat, civics should be a mandatory subject in our curriculum, empowering students to contribute meaningfully to our society. Highlighting contribution to mathematics and sciences. Our curriculum should underscore the contributions of Liberian native cultures to the mathematics, sciences, politics, and agriculture. From the advanced agricultural and engineering practices of indigenous communities to the political philosophies that have shaped our nation. These contributions are a testament to our ingenuity and resilience. Incorporating these into our educational system will inspire future generations to build upon this legacy. To further support our educational goals, I propose transitioning from the West African Examination Council exams to a national examination system. This system will be staggered through grade 9 through 11, allowing for remediation of students who do not pass the tested courses. Students who pass these tests during the 12th grade year could then engage in college classes or career readiness internships. This approach offers several advantages, amongst which are a personalized learning path, a focus on national priorities, and resource optimization. Fulfilling our constitutional promise. As we reflect on the role of education in nation building, let us remember the words of Article 6 of the Liberian Constitution. Quote, "The Republic shall, because of the vital role assigned to the individual citizen under this Constitution for the social, economic, and political well-being of Liberia, provide equal access to educational opportunities and facilities for all citizens to the extent of available resources," unquote. Education, my dear brothers and sisters, is not just a right, it is a fundamental freedom. On this 177th Independence Day, let us renew our commitment to education as a means of nation building. Let us envision a Liberia where every child, regardless of their background, has access to quality education. A Liberia where schools are havens of learning and growth, and where educators are valued and supported. Together, we can build a brighter future for our nation. By investing in education, we are investing in the potential and promise of Liberia. Let us work hand in hand to ensure that our children are equipped with the tools they need to lead, innovate, and transform our beloved country. Thank you all, and may God bless Liberia. Thank you.
Wow. 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 Oh, wow. So this, I mean, I don't know what to even really say, but I will say this to you. I am so um, floored and impressed at the same time with your depth of understanding the purpose of education. We have many educators and leaders in the education system in Liberia, or not just in Liberia, but Liberians who lead in education and don't really understand the fundamental purpose of education. And they keep kind of perpetuating this system of miseducation, building people's minds with low self-esteem and not really understanding their contributions. And not only did you hit the nail on the head about the problem, but you led this with the solution. You have thought this through and you understand the assignment. It's powerful. I'm so impressed because this is the solution, right? Is for us to follow a path that brings back our dignity. The national orator spoke of dignity. Dignity comes from understanding who you are and where you stand in the development of your country and what your contributions are to the world. When that is omitted from your education system, you're always looking outside of yourself for somebody to fill you. So I want to thank you personally. And I'm going to take the transcription of your oration and I'm going to share it everywhere. This needs to be heard. But I look forward to the day when the leaders in our education sector and planning in Liberia can speak like you. You know, we have these gems, these brilliant minds that are not being utilized for the advancement of our country. And this is unfortunate. I've never heard a Liberian minister of education speak with such authority and in-depth understanding of what it is to be educated. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much for the kind word, and it's always
Wow.
a blessing to be
Wow,
around
this
you.
is amazing. I don't, wow, Dennis, Mr. Nangbe, Dave, Ja, what do y'all think? I mean, this is, my eyes are watering up. It's just amazing. What are your thoughts, gentlemen?
Yeah, I would chime in if Dennis will let me. And
Mr.
thank you
Eastman, I'm
again.
sorry, I didn't acknowledge you. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Yeah, welcome, Jimmy. And Sizi, thank you, my dear brother. I'm not at all surprised. I've known you for a while now, and I expected this, but let me reemphasize. Thank you very much for such a very, very concise, very, very powerful message. I know the moderator will go over some of these points, but I heard you say, you know, education is an empowerment to national growth, and I couldn't agree with that. I was brought up and it being pounded into me that education is a national equalizer. It will open doors for you, it will empower you. And so today you reemphasize that. And then you also said, and I believe this is the central thrust of your argument, although we may be physically independent, which was also a theme seized upon by the national orator. She did say we had the audacity and defiance to set ourselves free from slavery. Today, you are reminding us that even though we may be physically independent, but we still remain morally colonized. I think that's very powerful. And I couldn't agree with you also As an indication of that, the absence or um, the lack of emphasis on civic education, history, and I would dare say social studies. Yes, why are we learning about, you know, yes, we should be aware of Mesopotamia or whatever that is, but we should also be aware of um, the River Nile in the southeast in Barobo. The children, the students from Lofa should know about Maryland as Marylanders should know about Lofa inside and out. There is a rich history that we have here. I mean, for Christ's sake, we've been in existence since 18, I mean, we're 177 years old, even before that. So there is a lot that our students could make use of. And yes, you would be aware of, you know, what's happening in the region by the Wyatt. Yeah, but yeah, national exam. You have to be aware of where you live. You have to be aware of your surrounding, I believe, to become appreciative of what you have. So I know I usually tend to talk too long, but I will leave it there. Thank you very much. I know we'll all have to go around. I appreciate the message.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nangbe. Mr. Ja, Dave Ja, any reflections?
Let me unmute myself. Yes, Carl, thank you. Was there a question?
Yes, I was just asking you to reflect on the oration and any thoughts that he may have provoked or any commentary that you, any feedback you have.
Okay, yes, Brother Zizi, I've interacted with Mr. Zizi for some time, though we have not met in person, but we have interacted on Zoom and in other, you know, platforms, especially politically during the campaign season. So I know his worth, his understanding, and then where his interest also lies. And you know, something that puzzle me at times and in a lot of professions too, like what is happening to our country when there are a lot of great ideas out there, many things that many Liberians continue to put forth, but yet it's about the implementation. We don't tend to maybe pay attention or put into practice those things. Even the this year Orator, I heard the speech, I read some parts of it, and people were jubilating. And then I wrote something like, "Do speeches really matter?" And I said to myself, "It depends." But we have these great ideas, and I don't know whether those who find themselves in position of trust don't have these ideas or are not innovative enough to generate some ideas that will improve our condition. And it's like some of these look like things that are lying in broad day, and I'm puzzled that people they don't care to make some changes, and that is very sad. But with Brother Zeze and other people and the rest of us that are trying to change the dynamics. I think talking, giving the speeches will eventually help. They will hit somewhere one day, you know. Knowledge sometimes is like, you know, the preacher, I mean, in the Bible where the guy went and broadcast the seeds and some fell in some places. And eventually they germinated. So don't let us never lose hope that even if the information is given out there and is not implemented, eventually it will find some fertile ground one day. So thank you very much, Mr. Zeze, and I don't, you know, we can
Thank you
continue the
thank you so
discussion.
much,
And thanks
Dave
for
Ja.
the, yeah.
Excellent. So we're going to go to Jimmy Eastman just for his remarks before we introduce our performer, Ms. Princess Fatu Gayflow. But Mr. Eastman, what are your thoughts? What are your reactions? I mean, I'm still like, charged by this. I'm still on cloud nine here. So what are your thoughts, Mr. Eastman?
Oh, just like Dave Ja, I'm not surprised about Sizi at all. This is what we expect of him. This is how we come to know him. But let me see if I can add to what he's saying. Education that emphasizes dignity prepares our children, our people for leadership, prepares them to be good, responsible citizens, shows them the role models they should emulate. And personally, I believe the way you are educated could define the rest of your life. As we all know, once we pursue excellence in our lives, it has a way of manifesting itself in our productivity and in how we interrelate with others. Excellent oration, and I have to go to the same comments that I hear being made. How do we implement these brilliant ideas? Because first of all, they have to be valued. They have to be valued, and then they have to be invested. It requires its resources. And anytime you hear that word investment, we're talking about using resources. How can we get our leadership to invest the resources necessary to prepare our youth for a greater Liberia tomorrow? That has been the question. What we see, education is now taking a backseat to when we talk about development these days. You hear about roads, you hear about one or two maybe mentions of electricity and technology, but not the rudimental element, the thing that will build the foundation of youth to explore, to reach the highest heights. How do we get them to the table to tell them, look, let's put everything in this education so that we can realize it? I'd like to hear Mr. Sizi ideas on that. I'm sure he got some implementation plans. So I'll take
Absolutely. It's about the implementation part, right? And the idea of revenue generation. We say invest. We really should be talking about generating the revenue to support it. From a public policy perspective, there are many ways. If you have the right leadership in place in the education sector to raise the revenue necessary to transform the education sector. So ministers of education are public policy people, and these are policy, professionals, not just teachers, right? So you can be an education professional and also a public policy person, and understand that here are ways to raise revenue. It's not always just, okay, we only have this big of a pie, we have to carve this out, right? We have a massive diaspora. Every country I'm aware of taxes their diaspora citizens. I mean, the United States does, right? Small, flat tax to the diaspora to support the education sector. If everyone in the diaspora says, okay, we're going to pay our education tax, because we're citizens of Liberia, we're going to pay $300 annually, or it could be based on income, to support the education sector only. That is a proposal. That's just an idea. There are so many ways to look at this. There could be a specific mineral tax that's geared strictly to education. Education funding shouldn't be pooled with everything else. It is the capacity we build in our human beings that propels our country to greatness. Nothing else. Nothing else exists without human beings there to manage it. The government doesn't function without functioning citizens. Nothing does. The healthcare sector, nothing will function without educated citizens. And Mr. Orator, you explained this brilliantly. And I really hope my hope is other people with much more power than I have, of course, right? Listen to your words and are inspired to reach out to you to assist with the solution because you have answers. You would not sit in front of the country and say, oh, we're suffering, there's lots of problems. Well, we know this. You have well articulated the solution. This is amazing, very impressive. Dennis, do we have the performer available? The performance?
No, no.
Okay. So, I was, look, I will turn it over to you in a second here, Dennis, for you to do some remarks. But I do want to say that I personally, after listening to this orator, am going to push, within my capacity to push, maybe an education reform board for Liberia. Put him on there as the chairman, as a leader. We have so many brilliant minds and solutions that we have to utilize. We're in a dire situation, And that is my commitment to you, sir, is that I will do what I can in my weak way to advocate for that. I'm not a big person, but I know big people. So that's all I can say. I'm not big person, but I know big people. So that
Dennis. So Dennis is a big person.
I know big people. But so the big ears that can listen to my little voice will hear. They will hear. That is my commitment.
Before Dennis comes in, if it's okay, I think, you spoke about revenue generation just for education, right? You spoke brilliantly about some places we could go. But I was sitting here just thinking, in addition to that, what does it take for the Ministry of Education and the Bureau of Tourism to partner to raise money that will fund both of those? So I'm thinking about, a lot of people travel to China to go see the Great Wall of China. Right. I spoke about the wall in Yeyia that Lothians built to protect the territorial integrity of Lofa County, to prevent the French and Guinea from encroaching on Liberian land. That wall is still there. 100 years later, it's still there. Do we take field trips over there? Have we advertised that? Do people go there to look at the engineering marvel of that wall? Why has it stood the test of the rain and the sun to this day? We talk about the swing bridge. People refer to it as the monkey bridge. Do we have research at the University of Liberia looking at the science and physics involved in that pendulum swing of the swing bridge? And how are we leveraging that to tell the world that we have engineering and mathematics and chemistry going on right here in our villages? I think those can be revenue generating that can support both the educational sector and tourism in Liberia.
Can I say something?
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you, Sizi. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, yes, brilliant point. I think even sometimes every programs require resources, require money. But part of the problem I see also is that we haven't really done a comprehensive study of how all these things how much it costs or so. Because to me, I think the colonized education that we have is even more expensive than having an educational system that is kind of Liberian-centric, African-centric. Because some of the information that we're trying to seek, yes, we need money, but some of the information that we try to seek a lot of it can also be found right around ourselves. We need to capitalize on those things too. Why in this world a student graduates from the University of Liberia with a degree in history, and he cannot even tell us who is found in Lofa? What has been Lofa contribution? How does the Sino River, or what is the history of the governing process that happened in Sino County in River Says also? It's puzzling. Somebody graduated from the English department at the University of Liberia, yeah, but this person cannot even compose a poem about Liberia. They can't even get folk tales about this very country in which they live. But ask them about Shakespeare's. They will recite the speeches of Abraham Lincoln. They would, they will mimic Martin Luther King. Yes, those are good things. But so some of these things, you can go to our traditional leaders, you interview them. Students need to be developed so that they can have interest in those things. I say,
So
somebody from the University of Liberia, he can distinguish or cassava from a yam. Yet still they call themselves agricultural students. So our educational of our impoverishment. So there is a need that these ideas have to go out there, and we have to press forward to decolonize our educational system, to stop this idea of enslavement. There is a lot of rich culture, a lot of things that we can learn from our country that our students can utilize. It doesn't have to be other ideas. Yes, we can do that. We can do the comparative analysis of all of those systems, but our system has to be central in our educational development. So again, thank you, Mr. Zizi.
Thank you, Mr. Ja. I want to just say this to you, and I really appreciate what you're saying. One of the things that I find challenging, just to add to what you're saying and what, of course, our orator has said, is that when the students don't have the foundation that gives them the esteem to study, they are empty and they go elsewhere to study, and they're filled with other people's information. We have so many people who are educated Liberians who know nothing about Liberia except some surface, superficial jargon that they were raised on. We have people who have PhDs that have studied in other countries and know more about those other countries than they do about their own. We have people who have done studies on Africa, who are born in Liberia and know more about British colonies or French colonies than they do about Liberia. And so what they do is they implement their understanding of colonial Africa onto Liberia, which is problematic, extremely problematic. And this is what Carter G. Woodson refers to as the miseducation process. And we have to sit back and do the necessary work to correct this, because even many of our scholars have been completely misguided in the way that they understand the world, because they were not given that foundation. That needs to be fixed. That needs to be corrected. You can have all the PhDs in the world. If you know nothing about yourself, you know nothing at all, because your knowledge, your education will not be used for the benefit of your people. So with that being said, Mr. Orator, I will speak Mano to you today with my little weak Mano. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Dennis Ja.
Thank you.
Quiet. Go ahead, please.
No, thank you very much. I mean, that's why you see when you cooking potato, the big one go under. So let me go. So before I speak, trust deliver a kind of Independence Day pep talk that I really like. And so before I come here, I just want Trust to say something, reflection on the speech and the entire Independence Day. Just spill something out to me, Trust, and our audience before we close. This is a young man who's part of the Liberia Leadership Academy, and he's doing so well. A few days ago, they were out in the street interviewing Liberians on some history and Liberian knowledge trivia, and that was remarkable. And so, Trust, let me give you 2 minutes before I conclude. If you can unmute.
You're muted, Trust. You're muted.
Thank you, Janice. You saved my life just now. I didn't know I was muted. Okay. Okay, so going back to my speech, one of the greatest highlights from that speech that I want every Liberian to really focus on is the fact that nobody gave us our freedom. We took our freedom ourselves. This is something I want to emphasize on again because a lot of Liberians today, a lot or most or some, always tend to think that Americans gave us our freedom. And that isn't the case because when we look at the time period, they owned slaves. They did not respect our capacity. They did not see us to be human beings. We were just commodities in their eyes. I want Liberians to understand that although we struggled, we took our own freedom. And I'll go back to what Mr. Goyah said, the problem of colonialism. My first time hearing that kind of term, very powerful. Most of us Liberians were still morally colonized, and we need to get it out of our minds because I watched a film called The Great Debaters where the head lecturer, I forgot his name, he said that in order for an individual to be able to advance, if the mind is broken, that mind needs to be taken back and repaired. Our minds need to be repaired. Our subconscious needs to be repaired because, yes, we have all the ideas here. All the ideas are great, but those ideas cannot be implemented if, like we all said, if we are not educated, in a sense that if we are not conditioned to be patriotic for our country. If we are patriotic for our country, then we can implement those things. We have the capability, we have the ability, we have the potential. I keep saying it. Liberians have potential. Aside from the great sense of humor that we get, no one has a great sense of humor like Liberians on the continent of Africa. But aside from that, we need to remove the shackles from in our minds. Our minds are shackled. The shackles, our minds are very heavily shackled. We need to break it. We need to break it loose. Once we break it loose, there we don't even need to worry about any kinds of problems because problems have always been there for thousands of years. Problems have always been there. We as human beings, we have already mastered that experience of knowing how to solve problems. And where does that experience come from? It comes from the mind. Power comes from the mind. But if your mind is not really, if your mind is basically in prison, you cannot exert that power. So yes, that's why I made that I made that point when I was reading the speech. So yeah, hopefully I didn't go above the 2 minute time limit, but yeah.
No,
Thank you,
but
Paul.
Mr. Trust, tell us how. Tell us how our mind is shackled. Let us understand the paradigm. How is our mind shackled?
It's
Thank
shackled
you.
from the.
Let me just add to his question.
All right.
Let me add to his question. I don't mean to badger you, young man, but I want to add to your question because the orator is an educator and you're a student. So I want to add to the question and kind of draw this out of you. How did we get to this place? He's asking how our mind is shackled. I want to know why. Like, how did this happen?
Okay. This answer is pointed towards me, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I was just about to answer that. Our mind is shackled because of informational warfare, in the sense that we've been filled with numerous disinformation and misinformation regarding our history. And due to that misinformation and disinformation, it caused us to it caused us to, number one, um, have a how do you what was that term, self inferiority complex, or for the lack of a better term, self hate. It built that self hate in us, and not only did it build that self hate, but it also caused us to prioritize other people's needs rather than our own needs.
Mm.
And to make it more truthful, Malcolm X said something. He said the most dangerous thing you could do is to allow your enemy to educate your children.
Mm.
Because let's face it, our let's face it, our enemies, they try to enslave us. We've been in the physical battle, but time and time again, we always came on top from the physical conflict, from the physical conflict side of things. So that wasn't working. So they decided to turn to informational warfare. And to this day, it's still working for them. They don't even have to lift a finger. We are doing it to ourselves.
So you're saying that they utilize education and weaponize it against us.
Yes.
So that disinformation is through education or miseducation.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Powerful. Powerful. You're
Thank
wise
you.
beyond your years, young man. You are wise beyond your years.
I was
I'm still
born.
learning. I'm still,
I was born in
still in the process.
Carl, at the onset, you told us that that he's one of your mentees, so we're not surprised.
This young man
That's
is
one of
quoting
your
Dr.
mentees.
Maxwell, not me. I beg y'all.
No. We know what you're doing, Carl. You are. That's great. That's great. That's great work.
Thank you.
Excellent.
That's deep
The audience
psychology
is
you're
calling.
talking there.
The audience want to call in and chime in too. They are liking it.
Oh,
But
wow.
let me share my story. I was born in the interior, in a village, in a town, but we really live in a village with 1 or 2 huts, right? So what I learned, so in that village, I know that if your stomach is hurting, I know what to chew. If you have, you have gas, I know the water to boil, what to boil as medicine. If I know the tree or the kind of thing we use. If you needed a stake to build a house, that's different. If you needed some to bridge the river or the creek, that's a different tree you're going to use. If you wanted to set trap, that's a different tree. In that same village, Uncle Thomas was a blacksmith. All these things that I learned in the village and everything else, when I went to school, I couldn't see any of them. So all that knowledge was like, I didn't learn anything. My mom, who was able to add, subtract, multiply, and do mathematics and do medicine, and a storyteller, was, according to the school I went to, was illiterate. She didn't know anything, right? The town crier, the guy who played the drums, who made all the musical instruments, was not educated. When I went to school, in fact, when we talk about the classes of food, when they gave the example, and the one that really used to always worry me was fish liver oil. I said, what is this? Because all the things I ate were not part of the classes of food. So when the orator was talking about education, I say, I see. So now, and I went to school, when I go to my village, I'm completely, what I learned in school was not reflective in my village. Up to now, I don't know the name of the trees. I don't know the name of anything that surround my entire town. But I knew all the trees in America because that was what in the biology book. So that's been a problem. So thank you again, our Independence Day orator, for talking about education, because the role of education in nation building cannot be overemphasized.
Yes.
We see sometimes we criticize government, everybody, and we say, oh, it's like the same thing is repeating every day because the underlying thing has not been addressed. Education is supposed to teach us to solve the problem. What are the problems we confronted with in Liberia? Number one is, we see flooding. Freeport, when I was going to high school, every time it's flooded. Yet we can go to school and learn how to fix it. So all the things that confront us, we have not been solved and using the education that we got. So there got to be something else that we are missing. And this is what our orator nailed tonight. So thank you again. I want to thank everybody. So you can go on call. Let me set the call line up just for 15 minutes for the respect of
Excellent.
our audience.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so
before you take the first call, I just want to read a comment here from AMA Cassell that kind of moved me. It says, the same people that enslaved us are the same people educating us. And I don't know, she's using strong language, but it's important to know where our education is coming from. And this is not about, Congo country thing. This is talking about Western imperialism and the concept of European supremacy being taught in Africa as fact.
And
But
to that point,
profound.
Dennis was talking about something, and if you don't mind, because when you talk about naming the trees in your village, I've done, I think, 2 podcasts now teaching math in Loma.
I love it.
And when you talk to folks about the way we count, because I've asked the Loma people, the Kizi people, the Va people, the Bassa people, the Crown people, the way we count is exactly how the base 10 system is. It's exactly what the Hindu Arabic system is. In our decimal system, we don't have an 11. We don't have a 12. What we're saying is the number after 9 divided by 10. 10 goes there one time, remainder 0. That's 1 and 0. The next number divided by 10. 10 goes there one time, remainder 1. That's 1 and 1. That's 11. So there's a wraparound. In Lama and in Pele, we do the same thing. When we get to Pu, it's 10. We say the next number after that is Pu and 1. 10 and 1 is 11. 10 and 2 is 12. And we do that over and over and over. But there are not places in our villages that validate their learning, that gives credit to our people, that the way we count in our local villages is exactly the same way we do in the decimal system. We ignore that as illiteracy, but we tend to go and count in the way the base 10 is, which is a complete. And I tell people, if we didn't go up to the north, but the north came down to us and we have the same thing, who borrow from home? That's my greatest question. And if you cannot claim that, then what are you willing to claim in your educational system? What are you willing to use that aligns to your values and that elevates the critical thinking that your ancestors were doing before the coming of Eurocentric educational system?
Exactly. Profound. I love how you put that with the mathematics. Go ahead, Dennis.
Let's take the first caller here, and that's Glendy Jane Juniors, the chairman. Go ahead.
Hello, everybody. Oh, my goodness. I planned to come on and sleep carry me. Oh, my God. I woke up in the middle. I was so upset. But let me just say, I heard half of what the orator said. I will go back and listen. I have one recommendation. And it's, I think last year, Cole did a brilliant job. This year, we have my brother. I think next year, you all need to elevate this show to make it like a Zoom where people can watch and we can be able to ask questions after it. But the summation from Paul is excellent. And I think the fact that is what we've learned and how we've applied it is what's affecting our society today. So it's just like the orator said, education is key. If you learn it correctly, you will do it correctly. If you learn it and you inhabit what others tell you, then you're going to self-impose those things you learn into your society, which will affect our society. But it's been a brilliant show. I expected nothing less. He's my brother. What else do you expect?
Thank you, Glendy. Again,
thank you.
On behalf of all of us, I want to thank you, Mr. Goyah. I want to thank you, Carl, for carrying this, Victor, Dave, Jimmy, and of course, Trust, joining us all the way from Monrovia. I want to thank our viewers for always following us right here on Focus on Liberia, where we educate, we elevate, and promote all things Liberia. This is FOL Virtual Independence Day program. We started this during the COVID when nobody was going out, and so it has become a tradition. Our first Independence Day orator was Dr. Patricia Jabber Wesley, that's the poet laureate and professor. We also have Dr. K. Moses Nambe at one point. Also an orator, we have Dr. Ibrahim Yan. We have our resident historian, Professor Kofangula, also. And now we have the educator, Sizi Goyah. So, we are very much proud of you, and I thank the committee for always selecting the best and the brightest from among us to do this. Carl, I'll turn it over to you so we can close.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone. And we have to. I see a lot of comments in the, a lot of commentary in the comments about how we got to get this. We say all these nice things, but how do we put it into motion? I want to say today, as a mother of four, as a wife, as a family person, that this has to be a commitment to the education of our young people. And I'm going to take it very seriously. I feel that Mr. Goyah's presentation today is a call to action for all concerned Liberians. This situation has to be solved. Our greatest resource as a country is our human capital. It is more valuable. The human beings in Liberia, our children, are more valuable than anything that is in the ground, than our minerals, than our forests, than our water. Without their development, these things will be utilized by others for the benefit of others. And so this inspiration from our orator this year to provoke all of us into action. As we always say, human beings have an innate bias towards action. We need to turn words into deeds. And so if government will not create an educational committee or board or forum, we must do it ourselves as citizens. And so this is something that I think should be birthed out of this brilliant presentation by Mr. Goyah. And I want to thank everyone for watching. I want to thank the panelists for their inspirational commentary as well. Trust, I'm very proud of you. Thanks everyone for watching. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you. On that note, we say we are all Liberians. Have a great Independence Day celebration as we conclude today. Good night and God bless you.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Liberia.